For over a week now, NBA teams have been able to negotiate with free agents and, as of recently, officially signed them. Though, despite that, some of the young talents in this free agent class are still available on the market in Josh Giddey, Jonathan Kaminga, and Cam Thomas. Teams would always want valuable young talent, so why are they still available? I'm going to take a deeper dive into the current free agent market, assess these players' games, and see how things can go from here. One thing that all three of the players mentioned have in common is that they're members of the 2021 draft class and recently finished playing on their rookie contracts. These three players were all given qualifying offers by their respective teams, which officially makes them restricted free agents. Restricted free agency essentially allows a team to match any offer a player might receive from another team. An example of this from a few years ago took place with DeAndre Ayton and the Phoenix Suns. The Suns wanted to keep Ayton, but they weren't sure at what price point. The Indiana Pacers then came in and signed him to an offer sheet for 4 years, $133 million, but the Suns decided to match it and retained Ayton. Though given the Pacers' success in recent years, the idea of Ayton ending up in Indiana makes for a great what if. Now here's the problem the likes of Giddy, Kuminga, Thomas, and even Quentin Grimes are facing. None of the teams in the league have much, if any, cap space to work with. The NBA's new collective bargaining agreement kicked in last summer, and it has teams changing how they do business and operating on the fly. We've seen this with how teams have operated of late. The Boston Celtics, for example, were in the second apron, which many teams essentially are treating as a hard cap, like you see in the NFL. The longer you're in the apron, the higher the taxes are to pay that roster, and it can also limit trade flexibility in terms of future draft picks. Now, as Jason Tatum recovers from a torn Achilles, we saw them trade key pieces from their 2024 championship team to reset the books. The Denver Nuggets last year were unintentionally punished for building their team under the old rules, with the risk of the second apron. They didn't go out and re-sign Kentavious Caldwell-Pope last summer and lacked the depth they had in recent years. Contract extensions like Michael Porter Jr.'s that made sense at the time looked worse in hindsight given these new aprons, and it's telling that the Nuggets had more flexibility to make moves this past week after trading him. So unfortunately, these restricted free agents are being met with a cold market, as teams are hesitant to tie up cap space with an offer sheet. Let's look at some of the players in this restricted free agency limbo. Josh Giddey was traded to the Chicago Bulls last offseason, and at age 22 responded with the best year of his career, where he was very comfortable as a primary ball handler in the Bulls' up-tempo offense. Josh also improved drastically as a three-point shooter off the catch this past year, and starting in February caught fire. In his final 25 games of the regular season, Giddy averaged 20 points while shooting 45% from three and averaged 9.5 rebounds and 8 assists a game. There are reports he's looking for a contract in the neighborhood of $30 million a year, and the Nets, who were linked as a possible Giddy destination, drafted a variety of guards to fill that void. Interested teams also have to wonder if Giddy's future shooting is closer to what we saw from February on, or the player who shot 31% from three in his first 250 or so NBA games. At the least, I think he's an improved shooter, so it wouldn't be stunning if he became around a league average in that regard. There are also some defensive question marks for Giddy, so these are all things teams are accounting for when looking at a potential offer sheet. Jonathan Kaminga reportedly turned down a big contract extension from the Warriors last summer and now finds himself in a tough spot. With the likes of Stephen Curry, Draymond Green, and now Jimmy Butler, the Warriors are looking to win immediately, and those are understandably their primary core players. Kaminga, who turns 23 in October, is reportedly hoping to find a situation where he will be a featured part of a team's core. This is where things get interesting, as he's an odd fit with what Coach Steve Kerr wants to do. Kaminga, with his high-end athleticism, shows some very impressive flashes of scoring when attacking the basket, though in the Warriors' offense, that won't be asked much of him, especially if he shares the floor with Butler. Jonathan's a dangerous cutter, which fits well in the Warriors' system, but has room to grow as an outside shooter and can stop the ball from moving, which is not what Kerr's looking for. Given the size and athleticism, there would be defensive upside here as well, but he has been more inconsistent on that end. In the old CBA, a team would have likely taken a flyer on Kaminga's upside by now and signed him to an offer sheet. Though given the mixed bag he's displayed with the Warriors, it will be fascinating to see how his market unfolds. Cam Thomas played in just 25 games this past season, but it was his most efficient one to date. Known for his big time scoring, he performed very well scoring out of pick and roll and isolation on a per possession basis, and attempted more threes, where he was surprisingly more effective shooting off the dribble than off the catch. While he has shown some passing when asked to operate as a primary ball handler, that likely won't be the case if Thomas goes back to the Nets, given all the guards they drafted. As I've mentioned in prior videos, guards who are considered shorter by NBA standards will be targeted consistently in this era. The Nets' defense was drastically better when Thomas was off the floor, and the advanced metrics aren't that great either. The Nets do have some cap space to bring Thomas back, but teams will be questioning if they feel Thomas is a starting caliber player or someone who could be very valuable as instant offense off the bench. The other player to monitor is Quentin Grimes. Grimes was a valuable 3-and-D wing this past season with the Mavericks before getting traded to the 76ers, though in his 28-game stint in Philly, he took off in a higher volume role offensively, averaging over 20 points a game, while still shooting well from three and getting to the free throw line more frequently. Granted, a lot of these games were without the likes of Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George, though Grimes showing he can score in a variety of ways is encouraging, and you already know he can contribute in the lesser role. The Sixers do have some cap space before they hit the first apron, but it's worth noting they also have young guards in Jared McCain and now VJ Edgecombe, who they just drafted third overall, so Grimes would probably have a lesser role if he remained in Philly. So where do these restricted free agents go from here? The market seems to have cooled off in general, though one reason some of these players might not have been signed to an offer sheet is some of the deals would just be matched immediately. For instance, notable teams that have been linked to Kaminga include the Heat, Kings, and Wizards. All three of those teams would be eligible to offer him a deal through the non-taxpayer mid-level exception over a 4-year deal. That would end up being a little over $60 million, given that players such as him and Giddy are looking for much more than that. Their initial teams would match that right away, so sign-in trades could be in play, along with both sides reaching a deal. Though there is one other option these players could consider, which is rarely done: signing the qualifying offer. Considering the NBA's contracts are guaranteed, and this is a 1-year deal, this could be a big bet on yourself. Though let's look back at the options for a restricted free agent. As mentioned earlier, the qualifying offer is typically a formality that lets a team match any offer, though a player can also sign this, play on it for the upcoming season, and then become an unrestricted free agent. And as of now, more teams are projected to have cap space in 2026. This isn't done often, as some recent examples include Miles Bridges, whose situation was related more to off-the-court actions, and Greg Monroe nearly a decade ago. It might not be for the faint of heart, but it's an option they can explore. Getting a player for their second deal is usually ideal, as a team would get them as they're still young and ideally entering their prime. Though this group of restricted free agents unfortunately hit the market at a bad time, where cap space and leverage are limited. The players mentioned are all young, intriguing, and have shown they can contribute in different ways, though how this process goes for them will be an interesting test to see how teams navigate the market in this new era. If you made it this far, thank you, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date with my latest in-depth NBA analysis.